Okay, it looks like we have a quorum and we're ready to go. And welcome to the House Motor Vehicles Committee meeting today. Today we're going to consider 3 bills. And why don't we start with Mr. Battle opening us in a word of prayer.
Okay, thank you. Let's pray. Father, as we meet together, I ask that you would be in all that we do and that you might receive all the glory and praise from our actions. Help us to be wise in all that we do, and especially in the times when it is most needed for our people in the state of Georgia. Bless each one who has come, and we ask that your will be done. For it is in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, Senator Tippins, you want to come on up, and you're going to do Senate Bill 138. Is that correct? Okay. All righty. Senate Bill 138. See, we got you turned on. Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the committee, I bring to you today Senate Bill 138. This bill has 2 portions that amends existing law. Current law states that a person who is making an applicant for a tag has to produce a Georgia driver's license or a Georgia identification card. This extends that requirement to someone who's renewing a tag. The tag office people had a problem since there were so many that had been that were being renewed either online or by mail. They wanted the same requirement for a valid Georgia driver's license or an identification card, and this makes provision that on tag renewal there will be a place for that information to be listed, and if it's done by mail or online, there will be a affirmation that the information given is correct. So this actually just extends to a tag renewal the same requirement that's for the initial purchasing of a tag. The second portion of my original bill deals with a driver's license and someone who has been stopped for driving without a license. This was amended on the floor. Let me back up. The previous practice, I think, had been someone who was driving without a driver's license, who didn't even have a driver's license, could be cited for driving without a license. They could go and purchase a license, bring it to court, and have the charges dismissed, I think, with a $10 fee if they had acquired one by the time they went to court. This bill just says they had to have had a driver's license at the time that they were cited, and Senator Cowsert added some language in there that if they had had a previous valid driver's license that may have been revoked or otherwise suspended, if it was reinstated by the time they went to court, they could present it as a valid driver's license. That's the only changes that the original bill had in it. The Department of Revenue has asked this Senate Bill 138 be used as a vehicle to accomplish some purposes that they had, and they had requested an amendment, and I have no problem with the amendment. It has to do with temporary tags of dealers of new and used vehicles. My understanding, and one of the main concerns I had, was that those who were purchasing tags on casual sales, the treatment for them may have been different. My understanding is by law, none of that has been changed. So I have no problem with the amendment that's proposed.
Okay, we're working off of the substitute to Senate Bill 138. It's LC 285715 ERS.
Yes,
and that's what contains what you've just discussed, Senator. Are there questions for Senator Tippins? We're gonna bring up Bill. Okay. Pardon? Yeah. Well, what Senator Tippins has talked about is the Senate passed effectively your bill plus an amendment by in the Senate, right?
The substitute, the original bill was Section 2 and Section 3 of the substitute that y'all have. I had a draft of it, but I did not have a final version of it. The portion that was requested by Department of Revenue was Section 1.
Okay. Well, Mr. Mitchell from the Department of Revenue, would you enlighten the committee as to the substitute dealing with the temporary tags?
What we've requested is that basically the provision for 40-2-8 would deal with provides that a purchaser of a new or used car from a dealer would be required to display a temporary license or TOP, temporary operating, as provided in this paragraph. Without necessarily going through each piece, basically what we're doing is saying that no longer would you have to have the holographic strip. We do have a design that just has one holographic emblem in for security. The new design that we're talking about, which this will allow us to do, is more like you could still issue, if you're a dealer, have your cardboard tag, but you would in turn be able to put the essence of a bumper sticker across the front of it. It'll allow the dealers to still do their advertising, but this number that will be in there will be tied to the gratis system immediately, so that at that point, if someone saw, and I have seen the tag that says, you know, in 2013 it'll expire, the police should be able to just scan it anymore at this point. What this provision allows us to do is to get it out to the dealers and to the counties. The counties can go that way right now. The provision we're amending deals with where the dealers have to handwrite it, and we're saying that it'll be done by reg.
Any questions of the Senator or Mr. Mitchell? I'll give you a moment to consider that. Mr. Morey, do you have anything to say about that on behalf of the, you assume the car dealers are supporting this? Okay. Anybody else want to talk about this bill? You guys are all shaking your heads back there. Sounds like an affirmation. Go ahead. You want to speak up there, Mr. Vice Chairman? There you go. Mr. Powell.
Tam, what's the price on these? And this doesn't have anything to do with anything, just my general inquisitiveness. What are these temporary?
You mean
what's the cost on them?
For us to do it now? That I'll have to get back with you on, mostly because we supply the counties with the cardboard, with the printing and everything else that goes on. The dealers buy the strips right now from certain vendors, and they provide their own TOP background or that tag. But I'll be glad to get it for you.
Just curious what the dealers have to pay for these, or the charges to them.
On the strips right now, I think it's around $1.
So fairly insignificant.
Right. One of the problems are that the way the law is set up right now for like on those vendors is that once you're a vendor, you're always a vendor. We can't pull it back. We tried. So.
Any other questions? Mr. Morey had come to me and provided me some insight on this too, and I think everybody's in favor of this. This is a law enforcement type of an additive thing, and I think it's a great bill. Thank you for bringing the bill, Senator, and all the parts that you contributed, as well as the department's a good way to put these things together. Mr. Powell, I recognize you for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would like to recommend a due pass recommendation to Senate Bill 138 as amended, as probably a committee substitute.
By committee substitute. Seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Like sign. Okay, you're gone. Have a good lunch, Senator.
You know, in the old days, they used to bring lunch when we had working lunches up here.
I think that
different.
I really think that we are handling these bills with such dispatch at this point in time due to the alacrity of the members. We probably don't even have time to eat lunch here.
Who's going to be carrying this bill in the House?
He didn't. It's Tim Bearden. Yeah, Tim Bearden's going to handle it. Okay, let's move ahead with Senate Bill 240. Representative Sims, come on up and tell us about 240. By the way, we have seen Representative Sims and this bill in another variety early on with a large discussion about it. They pared down this bill, and I think most people were supporting it. But Barbara, why don't you go ahead and tell us why?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee. Actually, I'm carrying this bill for Senator Mullis, and I'm still a House of Representatives person. So the bill is pretty straightforward as you have it. It defines what the golf cart industry provides as the personal vehicle, and there have been only improvements, I guess, to the bill because it only goes 20 miles an hour. It does not it's not considered a low-speed vehicle, which is governed by federal regulations. We don't have the rules of the road will be left up to the individual local legislation. So it's really a straightforward bill. I'll be happy to tell you that it has 4 wheels and it has the capacity of less than 20 miles an hour. The maximum speed is what governs the difference between this golf cart bill and a low maintenance vehicle.
Low speed vehicle.
A low speed vehicle, sorry. It does have on your second page, it has parking brakes, it has the reverse warning system, the main power switch, the headlamps, the reflectors, the tail lights, the horn, the rearview mirror, safety warning labels, and the hip restraints and handhelds. It's just the basic tools that are available on a golf cart.
Any questions of, okay, Mr. Battle?
My friend.
Yes.
We had a long discussion on this bill, and matter of fact, I'd asked a question today of some about the issue that concerned us, and that's the operation within certain local areas, the age of the operator, when there is the connecting of maybe a community by a public road. And of course, you had stated that this is governed by the local statutes that they have in place. But if it's crossing a state highway, it ceases to be a public or a municipality decision. It becomes a state decision. Was there any discussion about that? And I'm not opposed to this bill, but I know that was a tremendous concern to us the last time.
That was, and this does not reflect any of that. This bill is simply telling you what compromises a golf cart. It has nothing to do with the
operation
with the operational procedures.
Okay, all right.
It's just standard golf cart.
Okay.
Other questions of the witness? Representative Sims? We'll just suspend for a second.
Thank you.
Question? I think, Ms. Sims, the GMA has told me that they, unlike the last meeting, have no objection to this bill.
Yeah, but there's nothing in here I think that they would object to.
Good. Any questions? Well, what's the pleasure of the committee? Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't hear you. All right. Representative Powell.
I was just consulting with counsel, so the bottom line of this is that these would be excluded, or if they go on a state roadway, then they'd be subject to the rules of the road, and that the county would have to pass, or the municipality or county would have to pass their ordinances as to that control. Did I understand from one of their folks earlier today that they had a substitute that they were interested in of cleaning up any language, or did they decide to?
I think, as per question, that you were concerned, or some people were concerned, that there was nothing about a braking system. There is a braking system per se. And I don't know if that was going to, I think there was maybe language that was to be added on this. Because the committee was meeting at 2, I don't think it's quite ready, but it will be addressed. I mean, it will say a braking system. And it's no longer in here.
Yeah, the current bill has
does have a braking system.
It says a parking brake.
No, it says a
A
braking
braking
system.
system. I've just gotten this one, so, all right, then that's it.
I think that maybe their concerns were the language where it says a braking system, including front brakes.
I know.
That maybe that would, and I'm not too sure that we could have cleaned this up for them right now. These type of vehicles, as I understand, don't necessarily have front brakes. Some of them have front, some of them have rear.
Rear.
So I'm thinking that maybe if we considered leaving the language of braking system sufficient for the weight and passenger capacity of this vehicle and strike the remaining.
I would love for you to do that.
All right. And there was also a question earlier about the seat belts.
I do not think seat belts. We have hip restraints, but I think the industry has pretty much said a seat belt per se would be a danger. And I think we had people on the way from Noonan to testify to that point. But that would not be a safety feature. It would be a detriment.
Well, seatbelts are in the bill.
Seat belts are in the bill. That's the reason I'm
Well,
asking.
seat belts, I believe, handheld help restraints and hand holds. I do not see seat belts.
Is number 2.
It's line 31. Yeah. We're going to suspend for 5. We're going to take 5 minutes here and
Okay.
suspend.
I must have a different one.
Do you have a copy of that substitute?
We can pass that substitute.
I don't have that on mine.
I think we can figure it out.
Representative Sims?
Yes.
Apparently, from what we understand, you do have a substitute that incorporates all these changes that Representative Powell has talked about. That's what I understood also. And it's in your folder over in Legislative Council.
I just left Lead Council, and it wasn't there. I just left.
It's there.
It's there now? Goodness, okay.
I'm saying I can have, and if they can let them know, I can have my intern get it and bring it to us, and then be here in 5 minutes.
Well, why don't we just suspend
That would
on
be-
that?
I'd
Suspend
love
on
you
your
to do
bill.
that,
We'll
but-
come back to you in a minute. In the meanwhile, we'll pick up
Okay.
on Senate Bill 88.
Sorry,
which,
thank you.
It's okay. I'm sorry that we didn't. We moved the meeting up, and you didn't have a chance to get it here, Representative. I appreciate it. Okay. All right, suspending on that. We're going to move ahead to Senate Bill 88, which Senator Mullis is providing to us by way of. There he is. As we walk through the door. Senate Bill 88 is yours to explain there, Senator Mullis. And welcome. It's great to have somebody from Northwest Georgia join us here today.
Well, Mr. Chairman, it's a pleasure to be in front of you, and I apologize for my tardiness because I want to show the utmost respect to you and the committee members, so thank you for letting me be here.
You're welcome.
Give me my material.
Just as a footnote, Mr. Chairman, if you wanted me to handle this bill, we can dispatch the senator to more important businesses of state.
No, not at all. But I understand my good friend from Northeast Georgia is going to be taking care of this bill. And
He's
you know,
had that pleasure once before, by the way.
Well, we reciprocate. But, there are a couple of issues in my life, or my political life, that's been tough to me. And after I was a part of it, I realized what a good thing it was. One of them was the anti-smoking bill that I voted twice against it before I voted for it. And I realized that was a good bill for me and to support. And then a bill like this, some people may say is big government, but yeah, we're talking about the safety of children. And I had some convincing evidence and testimonies or discussions that told me I needed to host this in the Senate. And, with the complexion of the rhetoric out there about big government, I thought it would be tough. And there was some good debate. But as the bill that you've had on the floor of the House, same bill basically, we saw the wisdom to pass it in the Senate. And I'm very proud to do this. And of course, most people think we're moving it up to 8 years old, but we're really not. It's to 7. It just says under 8 to make sure people understand that. So 7 years old, and most people would assume, well, or not most, that they're going to have to buy new equipment. But frankly, if they're already in a booster seat, they're just going to stay in the booster seat for a while. And I think most kids are actually programmed to jump in their booster seat if they're currently in there. So I think this helps with saving children's lives. It also makes us more amenable to federal funds for this extra safety that we put on our highways. And, you know, we drive those monstrous roads every day, and the concerns that we all have with highway safety is at a crucial level, I think. And as we saw in the recent census, our population has exploded in Georgia because it's the best state to live in the nation. And I'm sure all your districts is probably the best place in the state to live, and I'm only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th in that. But I ask for a favorable consideration for this, and if there is anyone else to testify, I'll be glad to stand on the side and let them do that. I'd be glad to close it if needed.
Well, thank you, Senator. I think this passed by a wide margin in the House, and we're going to hopefully do that again. I think it passed. I don't think we had any nay votes on the committee when this passed out in its other form. Are there any questions of Senator Mullis? Terry? You have what number are you, Terry? 23? Yeah.
Am I on now? Good. Senator, you made the statement it was essentially the same as when we passed in the House.
Well,
are there any differences in the bill?
Well, I'll tell you the truth. Rick, are they? Because I can't remember, and I don't have the bill with me. I'm prepared for 270.
Mr. Legislative Counsel, Mr. Ruskell, you want to comment on it?
They were identical when they were introduced. I will say that much.
I can't recall any.
Wasn't the change to the Department of Driver Services line on the line 48?
Right. That was a one change, but that was done on both bills, as I recall. But
so I think our bill is really identical to your bill, but there were some changes in both for the department purposes.
But the essence of the bill doesn't change at all.
Yeah, absolutely not.
Thank you, Mr. Ruskell.
Okay. Any other questions of the Senator? Well, then entertain a motion.
You
Mr.
got
Powell.
one right here. I move that we pass along Senate Bill 88 to the full committee.
Second. Motion's been made and seconded. Any further discussion? Let's take a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? No. Thank you, Senator Mullis. Great bill.
Thank you very much.
We'll move it ahead in the House.
What house number is it?
I'm sorry.
Esteemed
This one right over
Representative
here.
Powell. Chairman Powell.
Mr. Soft and Kind.
Take no prisoners.
Did I yield now, or do you want me to speak on 240? Or
You want to speak on 240 because we don't have the sub here. We suspended.
Okay.
Representative Sims was doing a great job on it. The unfortunate thing is that what we had in the folder didn't match what your sub is, and I think the things we took out, we were concerned about the seat belts and the braking system, and changing that. Representative Powell had some concerns about that.
Right. There was a sub on the floor that added a little stronger talk on the brake system, and it was a result of the unfortunate accident that happened at then congressional candidate, now Congressman Tom Graves' events, where a golf cart went down a hill and the braking system wasn't adjusted for the load they had, and somebody died in that accident. So I think they strengthened the language on the braking system on the floor. But other than that, it does standardize some safety equipment that's needed if they're going to be roadworthy, and that's what we're talking about. Because as you know, Mr. Chairman, Georgia produces more golf carts and motorized carts than anywhere else in America, and we want to continue making them here. In fact, we want to be the utmost place in the world to be produced here in Georgia, and this helps kind of standardize some of the safety equipment that's needed. And with the price of gas going up, you know, most smaller towns and even bigger cities are going to become golf cart communities like Peachtree City to some regard. So if they're going to be in and out of the roads. They're still illegal on state roads. They can cross them at certain crossings, but we haven't gone that far yet.
Craig, it's on its way.
Okay.
Could I ask?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, well, let me recognize you for that, Mr.
Excuse me,
Bell.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. You said at certain crossings, is there something in code that provides them for a certain crossing if a community is?
You know, it doesn't, but the assumption is, and I know that's bad, is that at walk crossings is where they want you to currently cross state roads.
Oh, okay.
If it's just a pedestrian crossing, that's what they're considering a crossing for a motorized vehicle like this. You know, in the future, I'm sure we'll have to address that as these become more popular in towns and cities and counties in our state.
Any other question? Any other question for the senator while he's here? If you feel comfortable that Representative Sims can continue on, then we'll gladly give you back to your other
Well, thank you, Mr.
your
Chairman.
duties.
And I just want you to know that the Senate Transportation Committee is always available for these esteemed members, anything I can do to help. And I can't hold a candle to the ability to Representative Sims from Augusta.
We already noticed that.
I will relent.
We're just going to suspend until we get that bill back over here and get it copied and get it done. And I think this will probably be our last meeting here. Do we have any other bills to sign, Craig? I don't think so. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, while we're waiting, why don't we go ahead and just have a little bit of discussion and get this out of the way first?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. Oh, you're talking about
on 240?
240? Representative Sims, you want to come up, and if you have anybody to aid you, you might want to bring them with you.
That might be a great idea.
They're welcome to come up if you feel like that would be a help.
Would you like to?
If I might, and I haven't seen the substitute, we were only talking about it, that somebody grabbed me this morning, and we were talking about it. On line 29 and 30, we were referring to brake systems, a braking system sufficient for the weight and passenger capacity of the vehicle, including front brakes or parking brakes. Now, what I understand is some of the manufacturers, some of them don't do front brakes, some of them do rear brakes. Some of them may do a front brake. And since we haven't seen the substitute, I would suggest that we consider including either front or rear brakes.
Yeah, legislative council has a comment on this, Mr. Powell. Go ahead.
I can address the substitute and tell you exactly what's in it, so we can use that as a starting point. On lines 29, 30, and 31, what the latest substitute does, I've done several of them, the latest substitute would read for lines 29, 30, and 31, to say a braking system sufficient for the weight and passenger capacity of the vehicle, including a parking brake. Line 31 about seat belts is removed, and then items 3 to 11 are renumbered accordingly. So seat belts are gone. It says a braking system sufficient for the weight and passenger capacity of the vehicle, and then it says including a parking brake, and any other reference to brakes are gone.
One more time, that last phrase on the brakes after capacity.
Okay. Weight and passenger capacity of the vehicle, including a parking brake.
It is not a parking brake already on
The bill, this bill has been through many changes. The latest bill, before it went to before the Senate amendments, just said a parking brake.
Copies made, so this is an original.
So actually, that does take in whatever the brake is.
That takes it. Yeah, that would include, as long as they are sufficient to stop the vehicle when it's loaded. It would include front or rear or mid brakes.
Hold on a second. Mr. Powell, you have any questions to follow up there?
No, but at the proper time, I'd like to make a motion.
Okay. All right.
I'm a proud owner of a golf cart, and we use it. Matter of fact, this is the third one. We've worn out my little Ponderosa 2 already. The parking brakes on most golf carts is really just setting the brakes. You're locking those with the brake pedal. So it is one and the same. It's just a latching type of addition that is on the brake pedal itself. Am I correct?
That's correct.
So they're really one and the same. It's just the pedal is now with a catch or a locking device on it that it locks down and locks the brakes of the golf cart. That's true. That's true. So there's not an additional brake. I just want to make that point. There is not another additional brake. It is the one and the same.
Yes, that's right. That's true. It locks the brake right there.
Any other questions of the witnesses? Thank you for hanging in there and working on this thing. Mr. Powell, recognize Mr. Powell.
Proper time, I'd like to be recognized for a motion.
And Mr. Powell, you are recognized for a motion.
We have before us a substitute, committee substitute to Senate Bill 240. And if the committee would like to review it, here's the 02 copy that I've been warned not to doodle on if they want to see it. But at the proper time, I'd like to move that this bill do pass as amended.
Okay. By substitute, correct?
By committee sub.
By committee substitute, and that's LC 343063S. Okay. You guys okay with that? Second. Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? None? All right. Well, you're off and running. Great. Great. Flying paper queen.
Happy days are here again.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Alan. Good job, Paul. Good. Yeah, good weekend yourself. Glad we could move it up, get this thing done. That's good. Now I got one more meeting. No, I got one more meeting. You don't have any more meetings on this committee. I'm done. I'm done. Good work. Everybody did good work.
Oh, we've already had everything signed.